Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2022 You Have a Voice Humanities Speech Contest. And wow, what a year we've had. We are thrilled to be back in person, together, on stage, celebrating live presentations. Last year, the pandemic didn't stop us. We went to Zoom, just like all your classes, and it worked, but this is way better. We all believe that. So we just knew, though, that we cannot sideline the humanities during a pandemic, and we can't sideline them ever, right? Because they help us to comprehend what's happening in the world around us. And as we transition back to this post-pandemic reality, we are taken aback again by the invasion of the Ukraine, and we wonder, where's the humanity there? And yet this bears witness again to the toughness of the human spirit and the strength that we have when we are united around a cause. In an article written by Kyle Frackman, a professor of the University of British Columbia, he states, "The curiosity, empathy, and critical thinking that the humanities aim to encourage help us to comprehend what is happening in the present and how it relates to what has previously occurred. By recognizing past atrocities and their significance beyond quantifiable data, we appreciate how many aspects of human life, like language, nationality, and cultural expression, are involved in events that may seem purely political." Thank you to the humanities for offering that perspective. And so here we are, taking time to honor the power of the individual voice, to share a story, to offer insight, to help remind us that what unites us as human beings is far greater than what divides us. This contest was born roughly a decade ago when I wanted to highlight the voice of the trailblazer. I was new at Lewis and Clark. I'd spent most of my career at SIUE, and I realized in my class that there was a pattern of topics that came usually around the self-speeches. And I realized this pattern, a theme of surviving, and more than that, of thriving in current circumstances. I knew that when a lot of people come to Lewis and Clark, they don't give anything up. Instead, they add another ball in the air, and they keep balancing what they've done all along, maybe their family life, maybe a job. So it was a perspective that I thought needed another space. And I thought, wow, we have this great auditorium, and what confidence it would bring to that individual student to have the experience to go beyond the traditional classroom and experience what it would be to be on a stage and to look out at what would hopefully someday be even a fuller audience. But what you have to realize is that we're live streaming. So your audience is here and it's at home, and so we welcome that opportunity. So that's what continues today. I want to highlight some of our judges for today's event. Returning from judging for a few years now is Debbie Edelman. She's the director of the Lewis and Clark Foundation. Debbie, wave, smile. Yes, she is one of the reasons that many of our students can afford to go here. So she creatively finds a way. That's what, if a student comes to me and says, I just don't see a way, I often can call Debbie, and she can find a way to help finance an education here. She also has a background in speech communication from SIUE. So, Jared Henning, J-Rod is what I like to call him. Now, Jared has been a fan of this event. He has actually found student activities funds to fund the prizes for the last 5 years or so. And today he brings his expertise to be a judge. He has a background. There's things you just don't know about J-Rod. So J-Rod was a Fred Bird for the St. Louis Cardinals, yes. He also has a background in theater. He is a journalist. I see him at many city council meetings in the evenings. And so I don't know where he finds the time, but we're happy he gave an hour to us this afternoon. And Jill Doopy. Jill. Now, Jill is an adjunct in our department, but her day job is that she is the outreach coordinator for adult ed here at Lewis and Clark. She has a graduate degree in speech communication from SIUE, and she is great at the podium. So I have two students. This is new. This is sponsored by Phi Theta Kappa. So Cassia Short is right here. And Cassia is, so we always think, where are you from? Are you from Brighton, Bethalto? No. Cassia comes to us. Her family recently relocated in the Alton area from Charleston, West Virginia. So she gets the furthest traveled award. Maybe Dr. Sunblad gets that award too. But Gracie Cook is also a student. Now, both of these people, their speech teacher has told me they should actually be competitors, but they're serving as judges. So she is a student athlete / scholar. She's a member of Phi Theta Kappa and the Lewis and Clark volleyball team. So she also has a background in judging speech contests where she's from, and that's Patton, Missouri. So another one not from our region. So I believe that's our slate of judges. I am ready to start the festivities with speaker number 1. Now, we're making history in a couple of ways this year, and both of them are dependent on Mr. Brett Calker. Where are you, Brett? Now, Brett, okay, let's talk about how this happened. So a couple years ago, Brett said, I have some people interested in the contest from my dual credit class at Civic Memorial. And that student was Sam Copeland. So Sam Copeland came and participated in this contest as a senior in high school. And he's back. He is he's going to compete again today. So that is making history, second time competitor. And then we also, for the first time ever, have 2 currently enrolled dual credit students from Civic Memorial. So you'll get to hear more about them, but this is just a celebration all around. The first one happens to be, our first speaker happens to be one of those students. So Gannon Meyer, if you'd like to come on down, you'll have to come around the edge here on either side. Gannon Meyer is again from Bethalto. He is a senior at Civic Memorial. He plans to attend SIUE in the fall and major in secondary education. And his speech title today is The Difference Between Nice and Good. Gannon.
Hello, my name is Gannon Meyer, and as our lovely host here has just told you, my speech is going to be about the difference between nice and good. So let's get right into this. So often, nice and good are used to describe similar situations, when in reality they have very different definitions. For instance, good is often used described as virtuous, commendable, right, while nice is typically associated with polite, kind, pleasing, agreeable, words of that manner. While in reality, nice is almost like a baseless version of good, sort of shallow and empty, while good is more meaningful, is deeper. John Gorman, a writer and storyteller for the medium, wrote a poem in which he talks about the differences he views between nice and good. I'm going to give you a couple examples of them. He says that nice is fashion, good is style. Nice is brilliant, good is smart. Nice is hearing, good is listening. Nice is an act of kindness, good is an act of valor. My personal favorite, nice comes from the heart, good stems from the soul. As you see, John describes nice as sort of a really baseless version of good, while good is it inclines more intention, while nice is more vague and open and doesn't really mean anything on its own. Think of your best friend in the whole wide world. What word would you use to describe them? I imagine since I've been talking about nice and good, one of those came to mind. But which did you choose? Did you say nice or would you say good? Because if you said nice, that means you view them as polite, agreeable, but that doesn't mean they're a good person. You can say mean things in a nice way. Passive aggressiveness is a perfect example of this. You can say rude, horrible things, but if you say it in a polite tone, people typically don't call you out for it. While nice is shallow, it's empty, it's a facade. It's a mask we wear whenever we're upset. You can, you say you're in a bad mood and you bump into someone in the hall and you're like, oh, you have to be nice about it. You don't want them to think, oh, this is a jerk, this is a horrible person. You gotta put on a happy smile. You gotta put on a nice pretty face, when in reality you're really angry, but you can't let them know that. Organizations do this all the time, whether it be a charity, an entertainment company, a government, or even a church. They put on these big, happy, colorful songs and big smiling faces, and when in reality, if you look beneath the surface, most of them are corrupt. You know, there's shady things under the table, you know, things they don't want you to see, and so they are not held back by morality. They are They follow laws, rules, official standards, not open to judgment typically, and are held to specifics. But the voice of public opinion is a very powerful one, and so they try their best to appeal to the masses. The way that we act can vary if we're a nice or good person. Niceness is very heavily influenced by external factors. You want people to think of you in a certain way, so you act a certain way. You want your friend to think you're a good person, so you're nice to them. You want your friend wants to help you. Your friend wants you to help them with a job, so you help them out. And niceness would be expecting some type of payment or a reward, or for them to do something for you down the line. Well, good would be simply doing that thing because you want to help your friend. You want to be good and help your friend, while nice would simply just be doing it to expect something in return. This is where terms like the nice guy comes into play, where a guy will show basic human kindness to a girl and expect them to follow head over heels for them, and gets mad when they don't share similar interests or have the same feelings back towards them. While preparing for this speech, I watched several videos and articles seeing how other people describe nice versus good. And my favorite was by a channel called Chat with a Potato, where he talks about how if someone is down and angry, nice is not to kick them, but kind and good is to offer them a helping hand. Nice is simply not doing the wrong thing. It is simply just not kicking someone while they're down, while good is helping them, purposefully and intentionally doing the right thing. Good it's selfless, it's pure, and I'd argue it's the natural way that we as humans act. I won't go into too much detail about if we're truly good or evil beings. That's a whole nother speech, maybe next year. But I'd argue that we all start out good and pure of heart, when it's the world that corrupts us and changes us into evil, wrong, whatever you want to call it. Philosopher Emil Charter coined the thought process around a concept that we're all good, we all just have a little pin poking us that makes us act out. And we all have our own individual sufferings that no one else can see, that only we know. And so we have to try our best to put on a happy smile to make it look like that we're all good, great people when we're all flawed people. If I were to bump you into the hall and I reacted rudely to you, you may think, oh, that's a horrible person, I don't like them, what a jerk. When in reality, you don't know anything about me. And I know nothing about you in response. So we try our best to act like good at the best of our abilities. We want to treat others the way we want to be treated. It's the golden rule. We've all heard it since kindergarten, that treat other people the way we wish to be treated. And so don't treat people with niceness, because niceness on its own is shallow, it's empty, it can be hollow, while a true act of kindness will always spark another. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Gannon, for getting us started. Doesn't it make you feel good to know he's going to be shaping the youth of the future in a classroom in a good way? Okay, I didn't say nice. All right, our second speaker is Sam Copeland. Did you know you were second? Do you want to be second? I'd love for you to be second. All right, Sam, come on down. So Sam, you've heard a little bit about him before, but he is currently the student trustee for the Board of Trustees. So he does a great job at our meetings representing the student perspective. He also comes today as a representative of the Honors College. So Sam's speech is titled My Eating Disorder. Sam.
Thank you for the beautiful introduction. And the eagle-eyed viewers among you guys might have noticed I will be discussing heavy topics here. Content warnings include eating disorders and mental disorders. So if that bothers any of you, I have this down to a pretty good 4 minutes and 30 seconds, so consider sitting it out. And then to start off, talk about my eating disorder myself. The CDC found out that roughly about 90% of teenage eating disorders revolve in females. So being a male with an eating disorder got me a lot of interesting questions, like how does a male start an eating disorder? And it turns out I started it in the exact same way as any other female did. I watched movies, really cool movies, and I got influenced by my parents. And I think this is an important part to bring up, that I took a lot from these movies. As a high schooler, I joined student council because of Heathers. As a high schooler, I dated and romanced guys and girls left and right because that's what the people in the movies did. I learned of the turmoil, the romance, the depression, all of the cool, weird, amazing things that happen in college and high school from movies and TV shows also, but to a lesser extent there. So it kind of became interesting to me when the last thing I learned from all of these movies was eating depression, or eating disorders. I actually started my first eating disorder in sophomore year, and I learned it from Heathers. In fact, I learned anorexia nervosa. Anorexia nervosa is defined as an eating disorder characterized by lack of appetite or unwillingness to eat in order to lose weight. That was kind of a lot, but it came out in a really cool part of my life where my parents made me a cool bet. They said, if you lose 30 pounds in 2 months, you can get a cool computer. Don't do that. But I did end up getting the computer. It was a cool computer. I still used it for probably 6 years. Great computer. That was one of the weirder side effects of anorexia nervosa, is that I got a computer. The other side effects include cramps, pain, depression, anxiety, intense feelings of coldness, constant fatigue, etc., etc., etc. Don't do these. I feel like I should have said that earlier on in the onset, is that these are all horrible. Do not ever develop an eating disorder, but to move on. When anorexia got a little too hard for me, and it's a very painful, horrible thing to do to your body, I moved on to a new eating disorder. In fact, 60% of teenagers who start with anorexia nervosa move on to bulimia nervosa. And it kind of came across to me as if it was an infomercial at night. Family Guy was coming on, and it told me about bulimia as a form of anorexia where you have none of the pain, all of the control. It seemed like a perfect solution to all of this, because what was actually more addictive than getting that really cool computer was feeling control over my body and getting compliments from other people. And that became what I ended up getting addicted for, and that became what I ended up coming back for again and again and again with eating disorders. So that's why I moved on to bulimia. With that being said, bulimia has its own long list of side effects. About a year and a half into bulimia, I was a junior in high school. I was at the lowest weight I'd ever recorded. I was constantly fatigued. I fell asleep through art history class every day of the week, and the second I got home from school, I took a nap because I didn't have the calories or the energies to deal with any of this. I was so tired all the time, I was irritable, I was depressed, and I was still in pain, just like any other eating disorder will put you into. It was a mistake, and I realized that in my own self, and I realized that it was a mistake and I needed to improve. So I decided to come up with a nice 3-step plan. This is a beautiful picture of me when I was at my peak in anorexia. Not a beautiful picture, a horrible picture. I was at my lowest weight there. I have almost no fat in my face. Not really proud of that. So my 3-step plan of how not to quit an eating disorder, to be clear, this is how you do not do it. Do not follow in my footsteps. Learn from me. Step 1, try it yourself. Try to do it by yourself with no help at all. Fail and fail again. Come back, relapse, fail again, relapse. Great plan. Step 2, help from family and others. My family, when I came out to them about my eating disorders, they told me to stop being bulimic because it's bad for your teeth. Yeah, that was the support that I got from my family. As for adults, the mental health counselors at the school told me they didn't know what to do because the only people they'd ever have to deal with eating disorders was females. And I could not blame them. 90% of teenagers with eating disorders are female. But they told me that they didn't know what to say to me because I wasn't trying to lose weight to get on the cheerleading team. I wasn't trying to lose weight to get on the softball team. They didn't know what to do with me. So they also told me to stop because it's unhealthy for me. Thanks. Step 3, fail. This was a step that came up a lot, that I ended up failing and failing again and again, and I tried and tried and tried and tried again, and I cried a lot as well. And that was a difficult thing because as a male in America, we're told not to really express our feelings or express our vulnerabilities, But that's really hard. It's really hard to not do that. And sometimes you need to be vulnerable, and sometimes you need to come out with this stuff, because that's how we actually beat eating disorders. All of these eating disorders psychologically and biologically affect your body. Psychologically, they affect how you literally view your own body weight. They psychologically affect how you see treating yourself and how you see punishing yourself. They biologically affect your metabolism, and it just ruins your body for years and years and years to come. So that's another reason it's so hard to quit eating disorders. But it also makes it more interesting to have to come together with other people to figure that out. Because I didn't end up actually doing this actual step on how to beat an eating disorder until I came here to Lewis and Clark. When I came here to Lewis and Clark Community College, I started talking to other people and sharing my stories of eating disorders, and that's when I came up with this actual good step, and the only step that I needed for this. Don't struggle alone. It seems easy, but it's actually really difficult to be vulnerable about this stuff and be open about this stuff. Not everyone wants to talk about their eating disorder. Not everyone feels comfortable in a space to talk about their eating disorders. Although if you start talking about yours, this beautiful chain reaction occurs. People start coming out of the woodworks, they start telling you about their stories, and you start telling each other interesting stories and fails, and you start supporting each other. And I could not think of a better thesis for the Humanities speech contest than the amazing network of eating disorders that we've built at Lewis and Clark Community College. We have students who help each other fight off their eating disorders, help each other not purge, help each other not binge. We have students who have come together, formed their own community to beat eating disorders, because they fucking suck. They really suck. With all that being said, I'd like to say that the top of right there is my personal email. I'm always open to talk about eating disorders or any of that sort of thing. I can connect you with our beautiful support group. The bottom link there is our mental health counseling services here at Lewis and Clark Community College. We have a great mental health counselor. They can point you in the right directions. You do not have to struggle alone. And by not struggling alone, I can happily say that I'm 2 months free of purging in any sort of bulimic way. And that's in large part thanks to our beautiful support network here, Jackson Norden. I called Jackson at 11 a.m. on Saturday night because I wanted to puke up my dinner, and he helped me avoid that. That's just a part of our support network we're forming here, and it's really a beautiful piece of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that beautiful piece of humanity, indeed, Samuel. Our third speaker today is Bethany Leiberger, and Bethany is another far-traveled one. She went to high school in Gulf Shores, Alabama. She is transferring to SIUE next semester after she completes her degree here to pursue a degree in psychology. She participates already in their Army ROTC to commission as an officer. Her speech title today is The Need for Therapy. Welcome, Bethany.
Hello. How is everybody doing this afternoon? Hi. All right. Like Ms. Grant said, my name is Bethany Leiberger, and I am going to give a speech on why I believe everybody needs therapy. All right. To start off, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, 20.6% of U.S. adults experienced mental illness in 2019. That may not sound like a lot of people, but when I say 51.5 million people, that changes the perspective. That's a lot of people, and that's unfortunate. So this represents 1 in 5 adults. So when I was in the auditorium earlier, I counted each and every one of you, and I came up roughly with about 21 to 22 people without trying to make a distraction. That's at least 4 to 5 people in this room. I'm one of them. All right. I did, however, conduct a survey amongst a group of people that consisted of my classmates last semester, and I asked them 3 questions. 1, have any of you ever had a form of clinical therapy or counseling? Shocking results. Okay. 60% said no. 40% said yes. My second question then leads to, have you ever considered going to therapy? This is the one I kind of found shocking. Okay. 10% of people said no. 90% said yes. 3, did attending therapy help you? Well, 60% never really been to therapy, so that was not applicable. 20% said yes of those who attended therapy. So what does this do? What does going to therapy provide? It provides a more meaningful insight on life without judgment. Whether you are a child, an adolescent, an adult, in order to just try to cope, it provides a great meaningful insight on life. So what does coping look like? For a child, an example would be coping with a home life, coping with peers. In adolescence, what do? They try to deal with physical and emotional and even educational problems. Adolescents face a lot because they're also going through puberty, they're going through changes. So a lot of those hormones and everything that they're going through, puts a lot on adolescents. Adults that need coping skills, stress relief, anger management. I know anger management is kind of a lot for adults, especially college students when they're transitioning into adults. It's a lot. Elders might need to cope with their age of getting older, past events that they haven't healed from yet. Yeah. What else does it do? It provides tons of room for self-development. So that includes working on habits that you don't like about yourself and that you would like to change. It provides a ton of room for self-reflection and awareness, improving understanding your thoughts, feelings, emotions, improves understanding and helps understand and helps you communicate about relationships in a healthier way. So some people get into a hyperactive routine. So this includes like waking up every day, going through the motions, you feel like a robot, you don't really feel anything anymore. And we're human. We are not made to go through the motions every day. And we carry heavy loads, it builds up too much stress. And when you build up all that stress, what do? You explode. Anger management. Yeah. So talking about it and going to therapy, talking to somebody, it can help release some of those emotions because, again, we're human and we can't carry it all. And sometimes we need other perspectives, like a licensed therapist instead of a friend because, yeah, we can't depend on people that we're friends with because we need those other perspectives. And if you go to somebody who's a friend, they're most likely going to have a biased opinion because they're your friend. So my counter argument is, well, therapy is too expensive. And the American Psychological Association states that the federal parity law requires insurance companies to treat medical and behavioral health and substance use disorder coverage equal to or better than medical surgical coverage. So this law is called the Paul Wellstone and Pete Demency Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equality Act of 2008. So this law took effect on January 1st in 2001. The founding president of Fair Health, Robin Gelbard, JD, states, beneficiaries should receive the same level of coverage of behavioral, mental health, and substance use disorder services as for medical and surgical services. That's huge. So for my example, an insurance company can't charge a $40 copay for office visits to a mental health professional, such as a psychologist, if it only charges a $20 copay for most medical and surgical office visits. It has also eliminated the number of annual limits made by insurances, although it does not prohibit the insurance company from implementing limits related to medical necessity. So the American Psychological Association also states that a 2014 APA survey found that more than 90% of Americans were unfamiliar with the mental health parity law. 90% were unfamiliar about their laws. So other therapy outlets, like I mentioned before, going to friends and family won't always work because they're not always gonna give that undivided attention. They're under no HIPAA law, which that one to me is like, they're more likely gonna go talk and spread your problems and gossip and that HIPAA law. They're gonna be more susceptible to talk. And their opinion is, again, gonna be biased because they know you. So you can also find a sliding scale therapist that will actually work based on your income without health insurance. Open Path Therapy Collective is a nationwide website full of therapists that range from $30 to $80 a session. And even if that's too much, there are other options: free therapy outlets, community centers, hospitals, schools, places of worship, that includes churches, colleges, they even have a free hotline, guys. The National Alliance on Mental Illness has a telephone line that offers free assistance and advice 24 hours a day, 7 days of the week. You can reach the helpline at 1-800-950-6264. Even if you text that and put it in Google, that automatically pops up. Or you can text a number, 741-741, and it's gonna connect you to resources with different categories that you're dealing with. So, with that all being said, I am going to take action, and I'm going to challenge each and every one of you to seek out some sort of therapy outline so you can gain all of your benefits. I think therapy is great, and I think every single person can benefit from it. And if you say you can't benefit from talking about your problems, you're probably lying and in denial. All right. So that you could even start small. Get a journal. Start journaling your feelings and your thoughts, or go outside for walks. Take parts in activities. Get involved with community. Yeah. So September, Suicide Prevention Month. October, Depression and Anxiety Awareness Month. So with that being said, I challenge you guys, and that is all that I have.
I should have given a shout out to Mr. Jeff Harrison. He's the Arthur Anderson of today's event. He's compiling all the data and, going to help us make the big reveal at the end. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff is professor in the speech department. So, the fourth speaker is, Joe, are you ready? Joe Whiteside. Joe's from Alton, Illinois. Joe happens to be a current student of mine. He has a great bio. He is a musician, a performer, a bred aficionado, and a professional dancing Muppet. And I didn't know that, or I would have had you doing that in class. So his speech today is Womb to Tomb, We Don't Really Care.
This picture represents the current pro-life movement in America and everything it cares about. And this is what the politicians in the United States of America currently wish to do. This is abortion. Yeah, I'm going there. The GOP wants to pretend that this little piece is the entire pro-life movement on its own. They want to fix a shard with a Band-Aid solution. You guys know what I'm talking about. That was my glass of water. They want to fix a shard with a Band-Aid solution. They call it pro-life, but I call it criminalization without proper explanation. As a citizen of the USA, I reserve the right to inspire change with my ideas, which are just as good and valid as anybody else's. That is the foundation of our democracy. Because the fact is, pro-life is broken, and I know how to fix it. The current pro-life system in America wishes to criminalize abortion. And when has that ever worked? You guys know about the war on drugs? Hey, guess who won? Drugs. Criminalizing stuff, just putting that Band-Aid on it, it doesn't work. Currently, the pro-life push in the United States, they want to care for babies before they're born. But surprise, surprise, once they're born, they don't want anything to do with them. Pro-life should be about protecting and improving life from womb to tomb. According to the CDC, this year, over 600,000 abortions will take place. Yet, over 38 million Americans will leave their dinner tables tonight hungry. That is ridiculous, and it points to my fact that abortion is not the problem. Abortion is merely the result of foul circumstances in the United States. It is the result of a system that fails you. How do they fail you? You know what? It's funny you should ask. Right-wing Washington wants you to believe that they're the party of parents. That's good, right? Right. Parents look out for their kids, and in this case, those kids are us, American citizens. One problem there, they freaking suck at it. Let me tell you some of the things that they have done to protect their children. They imprison or execute women who access safe abortion care. They tear babies away from their parents and lock them in cages with no plans to reunite them. They silence doctors and they strip reproductive health care away from millions of low-income people. They stand by while maternity mortality rates skyrocket and women, especially black women, die in childbirth. It is 2022. That should not be happening as much as it is. They deny affordable health care coverage to people with pre-existing conditions. They cut programs that feed hungry kids. They block access to HIV testing and treatment across the globe, and they incite far-right violence with their lies about abortion. Ladies and gentlemen, that came from pro-choice America, my seeming enemies. That is what's going on. So how do we fix it? We vote for leaders who will work to make life better for those already alive. This will bring abortion numbers down rapidly and naturally. According to a study by the famous Guttmacher Institute, the reasons most frequently cited for getting an abortion were that she could not afford a baby right now and that she did not want to be a single mother or was having relationship problems. To me, that sounds like money and stress over a world turned sour. Nobody wants to bring a child into a broken and hurting world. That is why we as humans, we as people, should advocate for things like affordable health care for all, including mental health care, better funding to the American foster care system, comprehensive sexual education, better access to contraceptives, and making it easier for good parents to adopt great children. Now look, you might say, it's a woman's choice, and I get that, but there's somebody else in this equation we're not dealing with, the baby. That is a life in there. That is a chance. That baby should get a say. A voter from the state of Vermont put it like this: Why is it considered a double homicide in over 30 states if a pregnant woman is murdered, yet an unborn baby still has no rights? This confirms that the American people believe that an unborn baby has a right to life. Now, unless you believe that killing a woman who is pregnant does no more harm than killing a woman who is not, y'all need to check yourself in for some counseling. That's a life in there, and that ought to be protected. Every child, born and unborn, should have a fair chance at life. Would you not want the same? Every person on this earth has a chance. They are able to become something big, and we ought not take that from them. There's a poem by Langston Hughes. It's called Harlem. I'm sure you guys have heard it about 1 billion times in your English classes. And it goes like this. It goes, "What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode?" If you were that child, if you were that fetus, if you were that homeless person, that immigrant, that whoever, what would you do? Now look, I get it. I am another straight, white, Christian, cisgender male telling you about things that don't apply to me. I get it. I know how it looks. But when you view it through the proper pro-life worldview, where every life gets a chance, suddenly everything makes sense. When you take yourself out of it, when you have compassion for those who are not like yourself, those who are sick and who are hurting, those who are of different origin or creed, those who you'd rather live on the direct opposite side of the planet, or if we're being honest, sometimes you'd rather not them live at all. When you have compassion for the people who make your burger, sell your bread, fix your car, when you decide that the person over there whom you hate has just as much worth as yourself, and then you apply that thinking to the rest of the world, suddenly everything becomes easy. I want you guys to do me a favor. I want you all to close your eyes. I know it's weird, don't worry, we're all doing it. Close your eyes. Now think of a world where the government works for the people. All the people. It's nice, right? There's no discrimination. There's reduced crime, low poverty levels, moral goodness from the bottom to the top. Now open them. Welcome back. Look around at the world with a government that doesn't. Think about racism and wealth inequality. Think about drugs and crime. Think about hate and the fact that California can't seem to stop catching itself on fire. We can change this, and it starts by talking. Talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to wrong numbers. Hell, I don't care. Talk to your representatives, call them up, consider what I've said today, and vote accordingly. In the United States of America, we get the chance to overthrow our government every 4 years with our ballots. It starts at the top. Now, if you happen to agree with me already, good job. Keep it up. Keep on telling the world that love is alive and that every person, no matter their age, race, sex, gender, orientation, no matter any of it, they deserve to be treated with care and respect. And this goes double for the government. The government, honestly, they failed us by blocking life-affirming legislation, actually writing destructive legislation, and seeming to forget that there is more to America than just the money to be made. You can't just say, okay, abortion's illegal now, and think that's gonna fix anything. If you don't care about what happens to all those babies who are suddenly going to be flooded into the system. It is up to the American people to keep Washington accountable. That is up to us. And you can't ever change anything if you don't ever say anything. In the words of Dr. Seuss, yeah, I'm going there. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. Look, face it, government is in every part of our lives. We've kind of designed it that way. But we're the people. We, the people, control it. Because this isn't just about abortion. It's about holding our government accountable to the same standard we ought to hold ourselves, treating every person right, every person with respect, from womb to tomb. Thank you.
It's a little bit of water here for the next speakers. You got to work. No, I'm joking. Oh, you got
It's
it.
a bath towel.
Joe, you thought of everything. Oh, yeah. All right.
Don't worry, it's men's room water.
I want you all to know he learned all that stuff in speech class. Just joking. I'm just joking. He came in on fire. Okay, so our fifth speaker today is Miss Jerry Bonin-Burton. And this is something that an instructor told her recently. We have a student who adores each day. She has been here at Lewis and Clark. If we could bottle her enthusiasm, her zest for life, her drive and dedication, along with her passion for learning, we would. And I think that's a really accurate description. Jerry's really involved here. She's the vice president of student government. She's in the Honors College. She's president of Active Minds. She's a writer for The Bridge and a Phi Theta Kappan. Welcome, Jerry.
Good afternoon. How is everyone today? Good. I'm excited to be here today in front of you all, and I just want to make sure that I do a good job for you today. So I am sharing a little bit about myself and my trip through life and education. So can you put the... I choose education, right? I'm an older student, back at school, loving it, loving every minute of it, and trying to make sure that I get involved with everything that I can. I'm 54 years old, and I really have a passion and a zest for life with education. I'm so excited to be here at Lewis and Clark, so I just wanted to share that. I choose education. I have lived most of my life regretting my decision to leave high school early when I should have stayed. Okay. Everybody close your eyes for me. I'm going to get you involved a little bit, just like Joe did. I'm a senior in high school. Let's pretend you're a senior in high school. You have 3.5 months before you graduate. The counselor, Mr. Rittner, calls you into the office. We have to bring your parents in for a meeting, he said. I'm a 17-year-old girl. What do you think I was thinking? You're a 17-year-old girl. What do you think you were thinking? I was thinking I was in big trouble for something, right? Being called to the counselor's office or the principal's office. You just don't know what to think because they don't give you any information. They leave you waiting, right? Of course, Mr. Rittner would give me absolutely no clues at all as to why. My father, Jack, and my step-monster, yes, step-monster, Diane, came in that following day. I think I'd be a little more comfortable like this. So, Mr. and Mrs. Bonine, Jerry, you are failing 2 of your classes. 2 classes, I thought to myself. You only needed 2 elective credits to graduate, Jerry, but you're failing. My father, Jack, looks at me. My step-monster rolls her eyes. I'm sitting there, frozen, not knowing what to think or do. So, I only have 2 elective credits to graduate, right? He said, but you're failing. You're not going to be able to graduate with your friends. You're not going to be able to walk across stage. You're not going to be able to have those feelings of accomplishment. I was dying inside. I felt like I was being ripped apart. I chose Spanish and pen and ink. My pen and ink teacher, Mrs. Banis, she hated me. She had a favorite student. He was doing a picture, pen and ink. You know, you use the ink, little dots to make your pictures in pen and ink, so it takes a very long time for the process. Brian was Mrs. Banis's favorite student. He sat right next to me. I spilled a big ink well jar all over his wonderful piece. She hated me even more then, so she was failing me. I had a Spanish teacher, Mrs. Wilburn. I can just remember school like it was yesterday. I don't know about you guys, but do you remember back when you were in high school? Anybody have those memories of a mean teacher? So anyway, choosing Spanish and pen and ink, and then Mrs. Wilburn, you see, she was a good teacher, but the only thing I even remember learning was, "Hola, Pedro. Hola, Miguel. Una cerveza, por favor." Or, "Hola, permite a mi baño," right? Who remembers that from Spanish class? "Will you permit me to go to the bathroom?" So, my Spanish teacher, Mrs. Wilburn, failed me. I wasn't doing very well at all. I thought making it to the 12th grade and only having 3.5 months to graduate was a huge accomplishment for me. I was already planning for graduation. I could almost taste the glue on my lips from the envelopes. None of my other sisters graduated. I had no one to tell me to stay. My stepmonster and my father said, "Oh, do what you want. Go ahead and leave. We don't care." Mr. Rittner, my counselor, kind of looked. I had parents that really didn't care, that didn't want to be there for me, that didn't want to push me. It's sad, really, when you think about it. I should have stayed in school. As a parent now, I would definitely make sure to tell my child, guess what? You're going to stay in school. You're going to walk across that stage. You've worked and you've made accomplishments. You can come back next year and get those credits and walk across with your underclassmen. Guess what? To a 17-year-old girl, I was devastated. I was distraught. I cried. I didn't know what to do. There was no way that I was going to come back and walk with the underclassmen. Do you know how embarrassing that would be if I had to come back to school that following year? Do you feel that? How embarrassed you would have been to have to walk with the younger classmen? But I wish my parents would have made me stay, but they didn't. Something has always told me that I wouldn't be fine about everything to do with not graduating from high school. For years, I felt self-conscious when someone would ask me what school I went to. I would always have to think of something in a hurry. I usually answered with whatever college came to mind. I lied. I was embarrassed. There's no way that I could tell someone I didn't go to college, especially when you see all your old friends or you go to a reunion. You know, everybody's went to college. You feel embarrassed. You feel low. You've got to say something. So I did. Years later, I don't have to do that anymore. I took a good look at myself, and I decided that I can have an amazing life if I want to. I'm smart enough. I know I am. Though it took some reflection, I set some goals, and I eventually decided I would commit myself to my education. I set on my journey, and now I'm finishing the first chapter with an Associate of Science from Lewis and Clark Community College. I graduate in May with honors. The second chapter begins with SIUE or WashU. I'd love to attend WashU. Wow, who wouldn't want to attend Washington University in St. Louis, right? It's one of the top 10 schools in the nation. I've applied. I hope I get in. SIUE, I've applied there too. It's a really great school. And if I go there, I'm going to make the most of it too. I'm going to put all of my effort and energy and my love and my care into my education. The reason why these schools are on my path for the future, I believe that surrounding myself with like-minded students and professors will help me exceed my expectations. After researching universities, I believe that this university and its intelligent and excellent faculty align with my strong will to serve others and can aid in pushing me to accomplish my full potential. This is what it means to be human. Sometimes you fail, but it's important to get back up, right? And follow your dreams. Don't feel discouraged. Don't feel discouraged at all, because there are always bumps in the road. Thank you.
All right, we are now to our final speaker, and it is Miss Toni Reynolds from Bethalto, Illinois. She is a high school senior at Civic Memorial and is going to study bioengineering at the University of Illinois in the fall. Her title today is What One Can Learn from the Most Painful Moments. Welcome, Toni.
I'm not gonna lie, I originally had this printed out, but lost it in school, as one high school senior does. So, Jerry, I 100% related to your thing because I get called down to the principal's office and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? I really hope I didn't do anything. So yes, but to start my thing, my speech, I would like for you to imagine a pain that you've had in your life. This may be a broken arm, or a leg you experience from PE class, a heartbreak, or even that lingering sense that you have whenever you lay in bed at night. Now, whenever I say that, I think about earlier today when I got a needle stuck in my arm so I could donate a pint of my blood. So if I pass out, let Calker know and it'll all be okay. I did leave my ID in the car though. I'm a donor. Anyway, while all of your moments are vastly different from one another, it is the lesson that they leave with the holder of that memory. Now, I'm gonna break this down into 3 different types of pain: physical pain, emotional pain, and mental pain. During my nearly 18 years of life, because I'm gonna be an adult in a month, I've experienced my fair share of physical pain. While playing sports throughout middle school and high school, I've gotten my fair share of bumps and bruises. When I was 10 years old, my mom was at a 31 party, if you remember that. That's the really fancy bags that like everyone had the same pattern of. Same thing, different font. It's that type of definition. And I was outside on the monkey bars. Or I remember like it was yesterday. I was having a conversation with my mom. I was like, Mom, I can do the monkey bars. And she was like, Toni Nicole Reynolds, don't you dare get hurt. And I was like, Mom, it's fine. Later that day, I'm on the monkey bars and I'm swinging, and as I go to reach for that last one, my hand slipped. As I'm hurling towards what feels like 20 feet to the ground, I stick out my arm to catch myself, because if I catch myself, it's okay. It was not okay. I ended up breaking my arm. 3 days later, I ended up in the hospital, not in the hospital. 3 days later, I ended up in the doctor's office getting a purple cast put on my arm. And then I was an amazing flower girl with a purple cast at my sister's wedding. I'm saying all of this to say that physical pain holds a tangible lesson. Now, you're like, I don't know, man. Like a car crash, like what? No, that means you need to learn how to drive sometimes. How to not ride a bike. How to walk properly, because I broke my ankle walking too. That's a good story for another time. But in my case, it was how not to fall. Okay, yeah, what's the application to your life? What does that mean? Applying it to my life at 18, it now means that sometimes it's better to fall on your face than trying to catch yourself. I make a mistake. Yeah, I'd rather fall flat on my face than have to go back and try to catch and put all those tiny little pieces together. Physical pain teaches a tangible lesson. Emotional pain. Emotional pain is something that everyone experiences, whether it's that breaking of that childhood friendship that you held so cherishable. Maybe it's that one guy that was in your PE class that really broke your heart. That's personally mine, but. So my story for this one is teenage love. We've all experienced it. I mean, I had my first kiss in the middle of a global pandemic. That one really broke my heart. But it's simple. Boy meets girl, girl meets boy. You fall in love. It's the world, it's everything you know in that moment, and you build this life together. Oh, it's so awesome, and then they break up with you. Who does that? I was supposed to be married in 5 years. That's not happening now. You get me. You're shaking your head, you get me. But the simple heartbreaks and relational ends are what shape a person. I'll explain this a little later, but that's a crucial point. It shapes a person. You create that life. You leave that hole. And whenever it's gone, it leaves something to be filled. It leaves something to be desired. Emotional change is a sign of growth. If freshman Tony would have been up here, you would have been like, get her a step stool. And what is going on with her? She's kind of weird. This pain is one that's needed in order to grow. Now, the other type of emotional pain is that deep grief and sorrow. This type of pain is often caused by the loss of someone, or even sometimes oneself. This is the pain that people avoid most. It's the hardest. Over the past 2 weeks, my grandma's been in the hospital. The day that she passes away is the day that I'm going to lose myself. But if I'm being honest, I look forward to that day to see who I can become. Emotional pain shapes who we are, changing our personality to mold to the trauma and the hurt that we experience. Physical pain teaches a tangible lesson. Emotional pain shapes who we are. Now, mental pain. This one's kind of hard and a little difficult. I apologize in advance. Mental pain is a step further than that emotional pain. It's that one scab that you constantly pick open so now it doesn't heal anymore. Now, this is about to be super emotional, but I'm sharing my entire life story with you right now, so it doesn't really matter. But none of you know this except for the 2 people that have come with me today, but I love weightlifting. As I told you earlier, I had that one boyfriend in the middle of a pandemic that really broke my heart. Yeah, well, he wanted a girl that was a lot skinnier than I was. So you do what any person does. You go to the gym, you try to make yourself better. I began lifting to prove and improve who I was mentally and physically. Little would I know this would end up shaping me a lot more than I thought. Every time I look into the mirror now, I look at that girl who, isn't tall enough. That one hair that's on your leg, not good enough. Mental pain is something that festers and stirs inside of you. As a lifter, I look to improve every single aspect of myself, constantly comparing to every female athlete and bodybuilder as if you were made to compare to them. I opened up an emotional scab that was leaving it to be mental pain. Mental pain helps us understand what life is meant to be. You weren't made for that one thing, for life to be perfect. Because guess what? I'm gonna take a step back for this. Nobody is perfect. You weren't ever meant to be perfect. If I was perfect, I'd be a model. And I'd be in California right now, not in the rain. Mental pain teaches us who we're meant to be. Physical pain teaches us a lesson. Emotional pain shapes us into who we are. And mental pain lets us know who we're meant to be. Now, no one wants to experience pain. But especially in a society where we want the best. If you look on my Instagram, you're not going to see anything that's bad because my life is perfect. No, it's not. I just told you all these stories where life wasn't perfect and I had all this pain. But it's easy to avoid pain that darkens a soul, brings tears to your eyes, or causes you to go see McDreamy, because who wouldn't want to go see McDreamy? If you don't, you can come talk to me later. But it's the one thing that someone must experience in their life. But it's all about your perspective. If you look at it as pain, something that's bad, something with a terrible connotation, yeah, of course you don't want to experience pain. But if you open up your mind to learn from pain and to change and shape who you are, as it's the most valuable human experience, that is when you can learn from pain. Thank you.
So Tony says she's going to turn adult in a month, but I think she's already there. Spoiler alert, just saying. Okay, is there anyone here who did not make it on my list but wants to give a speech? I would never want to leave anyone out. Going once? Joe, you've already given yours. So we're going to let the judges convene. We're going to let Arthur Anderson do the tallying. And while we wait, we have a presentation from our Phi Theta Kappa president, Ms. Sheena Linneman, and she's going to take the stage right now and tell you about an upcoming event on campus.
Hello, everybody. Hope you can hear me. I'm short. So Phi Theta Kappa has actually put together I want to say like an animal drive. We actually did this for December, but with the campus shut down and everything, it really made it hard for us to, come to the campus to gather materials. So we'd like to welcome everybody here in this room, everybody, like, you don't even have to go to college here, to gather goods like dog food, cat food, kitty litter, blankets, collars, toys, puppy pads, cleaning supplies, whatever you can come up with to help this animal shelter, Mandy's Wine and Bark Grooming in Whitehall, Illinois. I don't know if you guys know where that's at. It's north, just a little town. They are getting so many animals there because unfortunately people think they want animals and can't take care of them. So it's a really sad thing. But we've already started today. We set up a bin over at the Commons near the dining area, and we've already got some things in there, so that's good. That's where things can be dropped off, along with the Nelson Campus Lounge. That's in Edwardsville, correct? Okay, yes. We're doing this March 28th through April 15th. April 15th, myself or someone else will pick everything up, and we will personally deliver it to Mandy's Wine and Bark. And I've spoken with her, and let me tell you, she is forever grateful that we are doing this because, like I said, it's a really tough time for their shelter right now. They need everything they can get. There's also a phone number on there, too, if you feel better about calling and asking yourself what they need or what they would like. And also on our flyers, there is a QR code. So if you download the QR scanner on your phone, you can run this code. You can do money if you like. It goes directly to them. I'm not sure who set that up, but it is legit. I checked that out myself because I don't want nobody stealing my money. So yeah, I mean, any little thing helps. I mean, you can go to your local Dollar General, the Dollar Tree. Anything helps, and they are forever grateful. You know, I'm a pet lover myself. I'm sure most of you are. So we just want to give to them. We want to give back. You know, they comfort us. Animals do when we need them. So we try to help them as much as we can. So again, March 28th through April 15th, drop-offs in the Commons over here near the dining area. There is a bin. It's not as big as I particularly would have liked it to be, but it is there. And at the Nelson Campus Lounge, in for room 125 in Edwardsville. Professor Grant's email address is on there. You can contact her also. And that's it.
This is a big reveal for our president. So I believe that this charity is also really close to the heart of Stephanie Hawk-Killian, who teaches math here. And so once I put this out to Phi Theta Kappa a couple days ago, and Brian has a photo they were going to project because we have a Phi Theta Kappan who has secured this donation. Turn around. I knew that would get her. So that doesn't mean we don't need yours, but the bin's going to be pretty full. I'm joking. I'm telling, that's going straight to Mandy's Wine and Bark. Now, what we'll do is if we get more things, we will maybe be able to help more facilities, 5As, the Metro East Humane Society. So this is great news, but isn't that pretty darn cool? That's Tammy Devening, and she and her wife have secured this donation, and we're ecstatic. So it's going to be delivered soon, coming to, a pallet coming soon. So I think we need a little bit more time. You want to cue one song, and then we'll hit it, and we'd like to see the Dancing Muppet. Just joking. Oh, thank you, Brian, for making that happen. So I, of course, start with the third place prize. Third place this year, 2022, You Have a Voice. Third place winner is Mr. Joe Whiteside. So if we'd really like for you to just come down here. We'll get some pictures that way. Jan is here from our paper, and we'll be pushing this message out. Second place, Samuel Copeland. And first place, continuing to make history, Miss Tony Reynolds. Put that on your U of I application, Tony. I know you did. I have no doubt. So congratulations to all the participants. You made this year's contest one of the best. It was a great afternoon to spend together hearing and featuring the voices of trailblazers who are using their voices for good. So congratulations, winners, and wow, what a great event. If anyone, we are happy to share feedback with all the participants, so you'll be able to see that. If you want to stay around, I can give it to you. And yeah, congratulations, yay. So we'll pose. Actually, are all our participants here? So this concludes the contest for 2022. I look forward to seeing you back next year. Afterwards, we'll spend some time taking photographs. So thank you to all of you who came and supported and judged. Thank you very much. Congratulations. So first, we'll get all the participants, and then you can go and we'll get the 3 winners.